So if anybody has questions for Ray, now would be a great time to ask.
Yes.
How many concussions are too many?
Oh, that's a great question. Very. I get that question at most every presentation. Thank you for that. I'm going to bring you back to I have many theories, and this is the best way for me to explain that. First of all, concussion is similar to a snowflake. There are no two snowflakes alike. I don't care how much you look, you're never going to find two snowflakes alike. Well, that pertains to a concussion also. No two concussions are of the same degree, and everybody recuperates from a concussion differently. We all can handle it a little differently. So it's such a unique, it's hard to put a handle on that. But I go back to what we call in the fight game, and this is my theory. We have a theory, or what is called a glass jaw in the fight game. Now, let me explain to you. We have an up-and-coming fighter that's, he's a real good prospect. He's never been knocked out or hurt before. He looks like a champion coming up, but runs into a little bad luck, and he either gets knocked out or hurt badly. Well, maybe another fight or two later, he starts running into that bad luck again. And he gets labeled with a condescending label called the glass jaw. And they claim, well, he has a glass jaw, he can't take a punch. Well, really what that is, it's the same in, let's take any sport where your first concussion that you get, okay, the second one is easier to get than the first. Then the third one is easier to get from the second. And that's similar to the glass jaw. Once a fighter gets nailed and hurt like that, it's easier for him to get hurt again. Well, the same with concussions here. And when they ask how many is too many, my theory is, first of all, you have to have your doctor monitor this along with your athletic trainer. That's step number one. They're going to take care of the professional part for you, the overseeing. But when you start getting concussions easy, it's time for you to look for something else. Because I've seen concussions happen without getting hit to the head anymore. I've seen football players get a concussion from a hit to the chest, that jarring motion. And another one that I can relate to was not too long ago here. It was highly publicized. Wes Welker of the Denver Broncos. I was quoted as questioning, him coming back after his second concussion with only in 4 weeks. And it drew a lot of publicity. The most thing that upset me more than anything was the example he was setting for the younger athletes. I had hoped he would have taken the proper rest with that, but he was risking a third concussion here. But you notice he was used very sparingly. And I really wish this gentleman all the best luck in the world. But I think, he went and put a bigger helmet on, he did all these. It's tough. After you start getting them easy like that, it's a really tough thing. So I think that's the answer. Trust your athletic trainer and your doctor to monitor those. But when you start getting them easily, that's enough. That's enough. Thank you. I hope I explained that. Anybody else? I'm firing tonight. I'm feeling pretty good, so I'm going to rip. Yes, sir?
I'm just wondering, interested to hear your opinion on you just spoke about Wes Welker, your opinion on the NFL lawsuit where they paid out somewhere in the area of $1 billion to families and players who had experienced brain injury in the past year.
Okay, I handle that one delicately because I do have friends who play in the NFL, but whenever you throw a lot of money out there, it somehow dilutes everything and brings out a lot of, should we say bad or whatever. But the lawsuit, for those that have been injured, hopefully it helps them, through all of this. But what I would like to see more of, because they've already made big money, and if it's about money, maybe they should donate some of this money back to research or education for the kids. I haven't seen that yet, but the jury's out. But the lawsuit in itself, gee, for the old timers, and I'll go on record as saying this, okay, for the old timers in my day, or maybe 20 years ago, yeah, we really didn't know the repercussions of long-term. But in the last 15 years, boy, that's pretty tough to say you didn't know. And another thing that I'd like to point out, boxing is a different sport. It's the only sport where the object of it is to render your opponent unconscious. Okay, we get more money, or we get honored for hits to the head. That's our job, is to deliver that. Football, that's not true, or any other sport. You get penalized for hitting somebody in the head. The object is not the aim for the head. But you know, in those sports, there's only one play. And after that play, the bell or the whistle blows, that player has the ability to get up and the people around him and do the right thing if they get their bell rung. Boxers, we don't have that option. We get nailed and, you know, one's coming right after it. Many maybe. So, you know, it's a different animal, but, see, I lost a little train of thought when I wanted to get in there, was that, oh dear. Yeah, no, the question was,
You were just talking about how, you know, boxing is inherently a different sport than football, and in that you're trying to, you know, actually hurt your opponent or whatever.
yes, oh, okay, here's the other thing that drives here now. And this is very important. Any of the professional athletes outside of boxing, NFL, all have a contract, some of them long-term. Whether they play or not, that contract is honored. They're not going to go hungry. And they have the ability to get up and do the right thing here. Boxers, we don't fight, we don't get paid. So there's a little different angle to that if that pertains for you. Okay, I hope I've explained.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Somebody else was here? Thought I saw another hand go up. Oh, yes, miss.
I was wondering, you mentioned a couple of times about a treated concussion, and I was wondering how a concussion would be treated.
Oh, well, that's a great question, and here's my theory. You can throw everything out the window if you pay attention to this simple rule. You get your bell rung, have it addressed properly. These concussions have happened for years, and they do heal if you let them heal. But the only proper way is to go through your concussion protocol, go through your doctor's instructions, and be honest with them. You let these heal, you're going to come back another day. Concussions are not anything new here. But we're finding the culprit is going back to play before they properly healed. And that's a bruise on top of a bruise. And I think it's a very simple concept. So I'll never be obsolete. I don't care what the research is, because honesty will always play a role. You can come up with the best helmets, the best this, the best that, but if a student or an athlete is not honest about their condition, they're deceiving the whole system, and the only thing you can get from that is trouble.
I may interject, rest. That's how you treat a concussion. Work with your athletic trainer, work with your doctor, but it's rest. That's what you need to do. And that's hard, like Ray has said, it's hard to say, it's invisible. So you don't have that broken bone, you don't have that cast, you don't have that crutches. So people look at you and you look normal, you don't have any scars, but rest is what you need to do.
Yes.
Can,
What type of study are they doing in Boston?
Well, they're coming up with things that I'm so grateful for. They're taking parts of my body, my hair, saliva. They're doing all types of genetic testing to see if maybe, you know, there are people a little more vulnerable to a concussion. But they're coming up with protein and certain things in the blood. And Dr. Cantu is world renowned there. And the day that he contacted me, I couldn't be any more grateful, but I warned him. I says, you know, Doc, I'm going to give you my brain. You better buy a couple of jackhammers to get in that stone. But, he is renowned, and like I say, that this is it's going a long way with him. I couldn't be any more grateful to that group. And we're making headway. I'm the only boxer, though, amongst several retired NFL players and a few NHL players. So I'm glad I could represent our sport in that way.
Actually, if I may interject again, you're gonna recognize some people in the movie then, right?
Oh, absolutely.
They're gonna talk about the Center of Traumatic Encephalopathy and their brain research, and Dr. Cantu is featured in this film. Ray hasn't seen the film yet, so you're gonna recognize Dr. McKee, Dr. Cantu, so you'll recognize some of that. Eileen, did you have a question?
Well, it's, as you're talking about recovery, and this is for both of you, I guess, I was surprised, I guess, and maybe I shouldn't have been, when I've seen you have concussion students and you wouldn't let them take tests, and you wouldn't let them go to class, and you wouldn't let them use their brains academically. And when I think of rest, I thought of like bed rest, and have to rest their bodies in that way. And I just wondered if either of you could talk more about that, because I found that kind of intriguing.
Can we handle that one?
Well, how about we tackle it both?
Okay, you can start.
All right, I'll start. Ladies before gentlemen over here. And I'm not
There you go, go.
Okay. Again, we go back to what would have been helpful to me. The teachers, again, were not being mean to me or doing anything wrong. They just didn't understand it. Boy, I had the greatest memory. That was one of my strong points. I could read 5 pages, never have to touch it again. I could sit through class and hear that and retain it. But after that second concussion, I'd read 1 page and become exhausted. And then I couldn't remember what I had read. And these things were so frustrating, and the teachers, I developed a little attitude on me. I became angry, and I started resenting authority, like teachers and police officers. It was so uncharacteristic of me, but yet that injury can do that to you, and that's one of the things you have to watch. Is that change in temper. But school, the teachers are more aware now to ease you back in, because it's really important. Because if you try to come back too quick, even academically, you're going to retract. You're going to go backwards. So this is so very important. Aimee?
Yeah, it's physical rest as well as the cognitive rest. In high schools, they have things like 504, which are short-term accommodations for returning to academics. College, we don't have that. We do work with our disabilities coordinator here at JCC, though, if there is an issue where an athlete or somebody that's received a concussion, doesn't have to be our student athletes, has received a concussion, needs some short-term accommodations, including no homework, no exams, no studying. We do work with our disability support services here at JCC, and like I said, the schools, K through 12, have short-term academic plans that can accommodate that student. The majority of concussions do not need those accommodations. It's very few and far between that I see it here at JCC. If I had to put a percentage on it, I would say maybe 10 to 20% of our student athletes have need accommodations because of concussions. And it's really short-term. Knock on wood, we haven't had a severe concussion that needed long-term accommodations in quite a while. I've been here 15 years too, so that's what we're talking about with rest. Not only that physical, but that cognitive. We tell them not to be looking at the TV screen and avoid texting and Facebook and all that. And they want to sleep. They're tired. We let them sleep now. So that's what we really encourage them to get the rest that they feel they need. If you feel tired, sleep. Get that cognitive rest. Before I forget, I do want to mention, and you probably saw materials in the back. Ray has a bunch of articles and some materials, including his business card. Ray and his wife travel extensively around the state and speaking to groups, and he doesn't accept an honorarium. He doesn't accept travel expenses. He does this because he's an advocate and he's very passionate about this topic. So if you know of a group that might be interested in hearing Ray speak, and I'm going to talk for him, that he's willing to go and do that. This is the 4th time I've seen Ray talk. 3 times here at JCC, the 3rd time here at JCC, and then once over at Portland. And his message is always very profound and very moving. I mean, I learn something new about Ray every single time. He can modify it for the program that you want him to modify it for. And he can probably speak to more, but I know he doesn't like to talk about himself like that. But it's been exceptional. I wouldn't keep bringing it back if it wasn't worth it. I was joking with Patty earlier that she knows the way here to JCC without directions. So with that being said, I'd actually like to give Ray, he's been here at JCC now, he needs some JCC gear. And Patty, I have something for you too.
Well, that's sweet.
So Ray, we have a Jayhawk sweatshirt for you. We went with the purple for Patty, right? So can I work the Zoom button? Absolutely. So we have SUNY JCC, our new SUNY JCC logo. That's great. And we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Before we plug in the phone here, I have a personal love for Aimee, how I did for Aimee. Just telling Aimee to stay focused and keep punching. She does a great job, and I could be more thankful for her contribution to the safety and well-being of student athletes. Nobody does it any better, and I hope you all appreciate it. Thank you.